Have you ever caught yourself, clinging to something, maybe even when you kind of know it's not really doing you any favors? Could be a habit, maybe an old belief, or even something that seems good, like a comfortable routine or a possession you really like.
Yeah, happens all the time.
Exactly. So today we're doing a deep dive into this enduring human puzzle. What truly holds our loyalty, our allegiance? And why do we so often struggle to let go of the very things holding us back from maybe our deeper goals?
And it's not just ancient history we're talking about.
Not at all. It's this persistent, sometimes surprising struggle with what we hold dear right now, today. So for this exploration, our sources really span the ages. We'll be looking closely at some vivid accounts from the Old Testament, specifically the book of Judges and Psalms.
Right.
And then we'll contrast that with a really pivotal story from the Gospel of Matthew.
And we're tying it together with some modern thoughts, too, from a reflection called Treasuring God Above Worldly Riches. Yeah, and our mission here really is to try and unearth why. Why do certain attachments become such powerful roadblocks? Not just, way back when, but in our own lives, too. What stops us from finding, genuine contentment, real purpose? We want to kind of get into the psychology behind it and see what these old texts might actually offer as a way forward, a path to real freedom.
Okay, let's definitely unpack that. Maybe we should start with that challenging history, the story of the children of Israel in the book of Judges. It's more than just history, isn't it? It feels like a deep look at human nature itself.
Oh, absolutely.
What does this ancient story really show us about, our tendencies, both towards devotion and maybe more often towards wandering off track?
Well, what's really striking, I think, is this cycle. It's relentless, almost predictable, really, when you read it.
Yeah.
The children of Israel repeatedly offended the Lord. That's the language used. And how? By turning towards the Baals.
The Baals.
Yeah.
Those were the local gods, right?
Exactly. Gods of the surrounding nations, often links to fertility, agriculture, things that promised immediate results, good harvests, prosperity, tangible stuff.
Ah, okay.
So they effectively abandoned the God who, according to their foundational story, had miraculously led them out of Egypt. And you see, this isn't just about religion in a narrow sense. It points to something deeply human, I think.
What's that?
This pull towards immediate, tangible comfort, towards what feels like control, rather than sticking with a deeper, maybe more demanding commitment. And this constant turning away, the text says it provoked consequences, often quite harsh ones.
And the fallout sounds pretty bad, immediate, severe.
Yeah.
They were, delivered into the hands of plunderers, falling under the power of enemies?
That's right. Whatever they tried to do, it seemed to just fizzle out, turn into disaster.
And what gets me is, even when God, out of compassion it seems, raised up judges, leaders to rescue them, the cycle just started again.
It did. The text says they did not listen to their judges. Instead, they abandoned themselves to the worship of other gods again.
Oh, it really highlights this, deep resistance maybe to learning from mistakes, even painful ones.
And it wasn't just sort of casual neglect either. Psalm 106 digs deeper into this betrayal. It says they did not exterminate the peoples as the Lord had commanded them.
Which was a command about not adopting other practices, right?
Exactly. But instead, they mingled with the nations and learned their works. So it wasn't just passive influence. They actively served their idols. And the text is blunt. These idols became a snare for them.
A snare. That's a powerful image.
It is. And the song gets even more disturbing. It details the horrifying extent of this devotion. It says they actually sacrificed their sons and their daughters to demons.
It's shocking.
It is shocking. It shows how utterly consuming these other attachments became. The result, they became defiled by their works and wanton in their crimes. Basically, polluted by their actions, completely unrestrained.
And yet, despite all that defiance, that repeated turning away, the Lord's response wasn't only anger, was it?
No, that's a crucial point. While the text definitely mentions his anger flaring up, him abhorring his inheritance, it also stresses his compassion. Again and again.
Right. It says many times did he rescue them. He had regard for their affliction when he heard their cry.
Exactly. But, and this is the kicker, the cycle was just so persistent, when the judge died, they would relapse and do worse than their ancestors.
Worse than their ancestors. It's just a powerful picture of how deeply embedded this tendency can be, this clinging to, maybe false comforts.
Precisely it. This pattern in Judges, this cycle of abandonment and relapse, it's not just some dusty history lesson. It really points to a universal human thing, doesn't it?
Seems like it.
This deep impulse to look for satisfaction or security or meaning outside of what we might even know deep down should be our main focus, our primary commitment. And even when rescue comes, even when there's pity or compassion shown, we often just drift back to what's familiar, maybe easier, or feels instantly rewarding.
Yeah.
So it really forces us to ask, what is it about us, about our wiring, that makes consistent devotion so incredibly difficult, even when we see the consequences, even when we're given chances for real freedom?
That is a huge question, and it echoes, doesn't it, right down through the ages into our own lives. Which actually brings us to another story, a very personal one this time, that shines a light on this exact struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Let's turn to the Gospel of Matthew, the story of the rich young man. How does his specific problem, his dilemma, connect with this broader conversation about human attachments?
Ah, yes. This encounter is so telling, and honestly, pretty relatable even today. This young man comes up to Jesus, very direct, asks, "Teacher, what good must I do to gain eternal life?"
A straightforward question.
And Jesus' first answer is pretty foundational. If you wish to enter into life, keep the commandments. Standard stuff, you might think.
Okay. Which commandments did he mention?
The core ones, really. The bedrock of ethical living, you could say. You shall not kill. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness. Honor your father and your mother. And, crucially, you shall love your neighbor as yourself.
Oh, the big ones. And the young man's reaction.
He's confident, maybe even a little bit self-satisfied. He says, all of these I have observed. What do I still lack?
Huh. Yeah, it's such a classic moment, isn't it? Like, I've ticked all the boxes, aced the test. What else could there possibly be?
Exactly. He thinks he's done it all.
But then comes the twist. Jesus' next instruction. The one that really gets to the heart of the matter, the real obstacle for this guy. What was it?
Well, Jesus pivots. It wasn't about adding another rule to the list. He went straight for the young man's deepest attachment. He said, if you wish to be perfect, meaning complete, whole, go sell what you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come, follow me.
Wow. That's direct.
Extremely. And the young man's reaction tells us everything we need to know about the power of this attachment. The text says he went away sad, for he had many possessions.
He went away sad, not angry, not defiant, just sad.
Sad. Because he couldn't imagine letting go. It wasn't necessarily that he was a bad person, but his wealth, his possessions, they defined him. They were his security.
You can really see the line connecting Israel's struggles with idols, those things they turn to for security, and this one individual struggle, can't you?
Absolutely.
It really highlights how possessions, or maybe any strong attachment, doesn't have to be money, right? It could be status or comfort, or even just being right all the time.
Yeah.
How these things can become that snare the psalm talked about.
Precisely, that very word.
It makes me think of that line in Psalm 37, better the little that the righteous have than the wealth of many wicked.
Yes.
And also Matthew 5.3, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, which isn't just about being financially poor, is it? It's more about an inner posture, a readiness to not rely solely on ourselves or our stuff.
Exactly. That poor in spirit implies a recognition of need, an openness, a lack of self-sufficiency that clings to things. And this is where that contemporary reflection, treasuring God above worldly riches, really sharpens the focus for us today.
How so?
Well, it points out that the rich young man's sadness, his inability to follow Jesus' invitation, it shows that true freedom and treasure are found in following him, not in earthly wealth. Pretty clear.
Right.
But it pushes deeper. It suggests that for us now, our attachments can become obstacles to discipleship if we cling to them more than to God. And like you said, this isn't just about cash.
No.
It could be our career that defines us,
No.
or our online image, our need for approval, even being attached to our own opinions, our own sense of being correct.
Things we build our identity on.
Things we build our identity on, exactly. The reflection suggests that the more we try to find our security in these external things, these attachments, the less room we actually leave for, well, genuine joy or fulfillment.
Okay, so bringing this all together, what's the takeaway for you, the listener, hearing this today? It seems pretty clear it's not just about, literal money or ancient statues.
Not at all.
It feels like it's about anything we might cling to more tightly than our core values or our spiritual path or even just our own well-being.
Yeah.
Anything that becomes that snare, that thing that, when challenged, makes us go away sad because we can't imagine letting it go.
And that reflection really drives home the point that the ultimate prize, the deepest joy, the treasure in heaven Jesus talked about, it comes from trusting in something bigger, something beyond what we can hold in our hands or control completely. The challenge then, both then and now, is choosing that promise, the promise of real joy, real freedom, over the maybe more immediate but ultimately temporary security or comfort we get from our possessions, our habits, our attachments.
It's about cultivating a different kind of wealth, maybe, an inner freedom.
An inner freedom that isn't totally dependent on what's happening outside us.
Yes.
Yes, I think that's a great way to put it.
So just to kind of recap where we've been, we've looked at these ancient texts, Judges, Psalms, Matthew, and seen this really consistent thread, haven't we?
Definitely.
A struggle with deep commitment, this powerful pull towards what feels safe or comfortable or familiar, even if it's not ultimately good for us. And, well, the real, often painful results of getting our priorities mixed up.
Yeah, the consequences are clear.
But also woven through all of it is this persistent invitation, a call to surrender, to let go, and maybe find something much deeper, a truer kind of treasure.
And if you zoom out for a second, maybe the big insight here is that the affliction the Israelites felt, the desperation they cried out from, and the deep sadness of that rich young man, they actually come from a very similar place, don't they?
How do you mean?
Well, both seem rooted in an inability to fully trust, to really let go of the things they were clinging to, whether it was idols promising harvest or possessions promising security, an inability to release their grip on those things to grasp something better.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Trust and letting go.
Which leads us to a final thought, maybe a question for you, listening right now, to reflect on.
Okay.
Thinking about your own life, is there one thing, maybe one possession, one habit, perhaps an attachment, could be tangible, could be totally intangible, like an idea or a fear, that might just be holding you back?
Holding you back from what truly matters to you, from a deeper sense of freedom or purpose.
Exactly. Just something to consider. What might you need to begin, maybe just loosen your grip on, starting today, to move closer to what you value most?